Hey, welcome back. Part 4 of the mini-series build on Bronco R Us's Bronco II build that we're doing here in my shop slash barn, I guess. So we're gonna move on to the front shocks, or in this case, ORI struts or ORIs. We're using 12-inch stroke, and we're gonna start getting these mocked up. I'm basically gonna come 3 inches in from the inner C to locate the bottom shock mount. So that's where we're going to start with the shock mounting. Is start with the lower mount first, and then I have to get the shock towers welded and ready to use as well. All right, so here are the towers we're going to use in the front. They come basically as a three pieces per side. The main tower, and then you have your tabs. And the tabs basically you weld in whatever width you're going to be running on your shocks. Most smaller, or I think up to 2.0 coilovers, are a 1.5 inch mounting spread or width. The ORIs generally are coming 1.6, and then I guess the 2.5 or 3.0 and up coilovers are the 1.6 width as well. So again, I'm going to use my TMR spacer. All right, there's that TMR 1.5 inch welding spacer. So I did have to just tap these forwards a little bit to make them touch. They had a little bit of a gap. Those get welded anyway when you're done. So just I bent those in a little bit just to fit the brackets, so they fit in there nice and tight and perfect. So I get those centered up and welded in. A quick little tip that I forgot to do myself. So a few seconds ago in the video I said that those top parts were kind of bent, so I bent them down. Well, I tacked some stuff in place and then I couldn't get a socket in. So tech tip: when you're lining this stuff up, take 2 impact sockets, deeps, because they're thicker than a thin wall. Put those through the holes on the bolt head and nut, and you will know that you are 100% center. Now tack them in place, and you'll be good to go. Luckily, I tacked, and then I couldn't get the socket on the nut, so no problem admitting my mistakes, but that's a little trick I had learned before that I forgot to do again this time. So it just helps. These holes are just barely bigger than an impact socket, so it'll keep it centered for you. All right, got one done. I felt stupid. This one took me way longer than it should have. And then the other thing that I forgot about when I did that yellow and white one for Jeff is the opening here has to be opened up a little bit more just because of how big the head is on the ORI. Everything's nice straight through, perfect space. Everything slides right where it needs to go. So next is get the second one done and bring them over to the truck. All right, I just got the second one all welded up. This one went a lot easier because I remembered my little tricks. So super good. And then also trimming this area was easier too because the other one I had already welded. So I was trying to cut through the weld, which sometimes is a pain. So again, using those welding spacing blocks. I wish I would have had these back when I did my Explorer. Everything I do with these blocks, everything slides in and just mounts like factory. I love it. So all clearanced out, fully welded. All right, so one more example here. So these are the lower mounts I'm going to use, and they're a one piece pre-bent. But the way they were bent, they were very, very tight going on the ORIs. So I sliced them in half and then bolted in the weld spacer again and then welded them back together. And now it's just like the other fitting, just perfect in and out. All right, so another thing I learned off my Explorer when I built it is the shock's not going to mount straight up and down. You want a little bit of a rake back. And if you mount these just as they are, they're square to the surface. So now you have a 90-degree mount, and then your shock or whatever is going to be leaning backwards. So you're already kind of using up some of your misalignment. So I'm going to basically kind of measure, and I'm going to grind these down at an angle so that the mounts themselves are pointing back. And then that way the shock, or ORI in this case, will be neutral in the mount. So it has 100% of its misalignment and articulation. So I already kind of looked at it off camera, about a 1/4 inch. That's what I'm going to put into it. And we'll be good to go. And that should make a lot more sense. See how the one on the right has a nice angle to it? So that's going to allow that shock to be neutral in its position. And then there were two. All right, so before I can move on with the towers, I went ahead and got this last piece of plate put on the frame. So that's all said and done. I think this side's done. So when I do start the towers, I'm starting on the driver's side because the driver's side is just, it's no fun to deal with. So this is the part I never look forward to messing with. But I'm pretty sure we got this plated as much as I need. Might have to do one more little section here. All right, remember my blue line on both sides is the 3 inches in from the C. So I have the mounting holes center on the line. So same on both sides. I'm going to tack these in place. That way the bottom of the ORI is in place at the same distance on both sides. All right, I double checked, make sure the frame was even. Make sure the axle's even. It's balanced between 0.0 and 0.1, so that's close enough. Lower mounts are tacked, same location, both sides. Put some rags around the ORIs. So now they can, hang out. I also move the axle down because if you look at the ORI, that shaft, this is full bump. The rest of that is actually an internal bump. So you want, it would never compress that much, but I wanted to add that much between the K-member and the top of the truss, between the tie rod and the pitman arm, all that stuff. Upper link, K-member, so everything's clearance, everything's good. All right, now you see why I got these things wrapped up. So this is how I wanted it. I wanted to be able to have the ORI in place, to be able to manipulate it and see how it's going to look. Obviously, I already knew that the towers were going to be longer than what we needed. So right now it's kind of like figure out how much needs to be cut off to start getting it to fit. So I'm looking at my angle, neutral in the shock mounts. So I'm going to grab a pen and mark this section here where the track bar bracket's at. I'll cut that corner out for now and then see how it fits. Because even though the tower looks long, it's not going past the frame. So if I can cut this out right here where the where all this fun stuff's taking place. I know we already kind of boxed this in, but I'm thinking, you might not be able to see it from that angle. This kind of flares this way. If I cut this out and then keep this flat section up, and then essentially put the back of this tower, like basically 85% of the tower will be on this portion, and then figure out how to cut the corner of this out to fit around this part here, and then obviously have a location hole for the bolt. for the steering gear, and that would just be awesome. On the yellow and white truck, I basically cut the tower and mounted it on top and then gusseted it in. But I'm thinking what I just said I might want to do as far as putting it on the face of the frame. All right, so just nipping off this corner already let me suck the tower in to get an even better view. So now what I'm going to do here is mark the back of the tower where that bump out is at. Keeping everything neutral. All right, I got 2 marks. All right, I didn't want to bore you adjusting and nipping off every little 1/8 inch, but it is cut and sectioned around that hump. And then I drilled out 5 holes for plug welds. So it's tacked in place. And then we will add on and gusset that side. On these Rangers, Bronco IIs, Explorers, this side of the frame is weird. So always start on this side. So then this side was easy because this side's flat. Took my angle finder, and the other side was 6.7, this side 6.7. It was 1.1 degree this way, so this side's also matched. All right, so first time flexing with the shocks on. Obviously passenger's full stuff. Driver is fully extended. So everything's good this way. All my clearances stayed the same. I don't want to hard. So everything's good. Let's go the other way. So I'm also checking to make sure that the bodies of the shock are good too. So, all right, and here's the opposite. Full droop passenger, full stuff driver. All the clearances stayed the same. Shocks are neutral, nowhere close to their full misalignment. Right now we're full lock passenger, plenty of room. Full lock driver, plenty of room. So I haven't done a full droop yet. So full droop. As expected, everything's good. All right, so that's going to end part 4 on the mini-series on John's Bronco II project. The 3-link suspension system is done. The steering is done. The track bar is done. The shock tower, shock mounts are done. Done as in everything's mocked up. Everything's been fully tested. Everything's been flexed, bumped, drooped, steering lock to lock. We're good. We have clearance everywhere we need it. So I'm not going to bore you and show you as I'm welding everything together and boxing stuff in and all the gussets. So I will pick up in part 5 showing you this finished welded and everything else. And then we'll move on from there.